in the book of Zechariah, chapter 7, verses 8 through 10. It says, "And the word of the Lord came unto Zechariah, saying, Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, Execute true judgment, and show mercy and compassions every man to his brother. And oppress not the widow, nor the fatherless, the stranger, nor the poor. And let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart." The phrase that stuck out to me in these verses is, "Let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart." I feel like many times we assume that people are doing bad things. We don't give people the benefit of the doubt. We assume that they're doing things because they are, trying to be mean. And I think that that's not right. I think we should assume the best of people. Assume that they aren't being evil. Also, so you can take this phrase a couple of different ways, the way it's phrased in English. You can say, don't assume that your brother is doing evil. Don't imagine that you're doing evil. But you could also, perhaps a more direct interpretation of the line is, don't fantasize about doing evil against your brother. Don't imagine evil against your brother. Don't plan to do evil against your brother. And that's also an important interpretation. And I think that both of those things are bad. I think that, and both those things need to be curbed. And you might say, well, I can imagine what I want. How dare the Lord try to say what I think is happening or what I fantasize about. And then starting in verse 11, so in response to that implied argument, Zechariah has, starting in verse 11, kind of the consequences of what happens if you don't do these things, if you don't execute true judgment, and you do imagine evil against your brother. And so in verse 11 it says, "But they refused to hearken, and pulled away the shoulder, and stopped the ears, that they should not hear. Yea, they made their hearts as an adamant stone, lest they should hear the law, and the words which the Lord of hosts had sent in his spirit by the former prophets. Therefore came a great wrath from the Lord of hosts. Therefore it is come to pass that as he cried, and they would not hear, so they cried, and I would not hear, saith the Lord of hosts." So God's not going to answer your prayers if you refuse to listen to him. "But I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations whom they knew not. Thus the land was desolate after them, that no man passed through nor returned. For they laid the pleasant land desolate." So I think that that's also interesting. They made their hearts as an adamant stone. I think of Adamantium in the X-Men comics when I read that, but just they hardened their hearts. They wouldn't listen, and so God wouldn't listen to them, and he spread them. So don't imagine evil against your brother, and be kind.